Welcome back to the MovieJar podcast, a podcast where we talk about movies, talk shit about everyone's opinions, and give our favorite characters a cookie for their time. My name is Kaya, I am a film student.
My name is Alex, and I loathe the very existence of storyboards.
My name's Cameron, and I have a lot to say about this film.
Hi, I'm Chris. I do things?
He's just waiting for Conan.
Yeah, I'm waiting in the wings, boy. Or the
He's
room
just
where it
waiting for
happens, the
Conan.
room where it happens. The copyright strike there, copyright strike.
I'd love a cup of tea, please.
Okay, so this week's movie was The Hunger Games, the first one. Cameron, we'll leave you to last because you have a lot to say,
Okay.
so we'll let you go last.
We
So
promised
that we can
Cameron.
give you like all the time afterwards, right?
Cameron's thesis is basically going to be the topic of this episode because the viewers at home, and Kaya, I hope you don't mind if I'll explain this. The viewers at home, Kaya loves Hunger Games.
That's not
Cameron
true.
loves.
No,
Hey,
no, you've also got that wrong. I love The Hunger Games
Yeah, Cameron likes the books
as a
and the
series.
series, just not the first one.
I love everything about The Hunger Games apart from the first movie.
Which is
No,
so
how about-
funny. Anyway.
How about Chris and I go first as like the
Chris.
appetizers and you two?
Let's start with Chris.
This was the Hunger Games.
Were you
I'm
hungry for the
Chris.
games?
I don't know what I was.
Thank you, Chris.
Chris,
very insightful.
Is the
My
ADHD medication
opinion
wearing
is
off?
that this was a boring film in terms of...
Really?
Yes, I did not enjoy it, and I found myself overall bored. I liked certain aspects, such as the fact that she immediately looked for a tree to hide on, which is just intelligent. I enjoyed the fact that the main character was minorly intelligent.
big
Only
step up.
minorly?
Yes. I consider most people who do shit like this to do the wrong things. Therefore, these were the correct things. Therefore, she is minorly intelligent. Above average, perhaps.
Alright.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I didn't like this film. Maybe it's just me not liking millennial movies, but I didn't really
a minute.
enjoy it.
I'd say it's
Ma-
sort of like on like the cusp of like millennial and Gen Z, because me personally, it's all anyone would talk
It's
about in high
2012.
school.
Yeah. I don't know. I I don't know what I really think of this film. I just know that I didn't really enjoy it.
Oh,
Have you seen this film before, Chris?
yeah.
Not before now. No.
Really? So
Oh,
you and
okay.
Alex hadn't seen it before.
Oh,
So, yeah, I kind of didn't have any like wants to do Hunger Games related stuff when I was a kid. It's
Hmm.
followed me through to now. Inbuilt prejudice, maybe. I didn't enjoy this film,
Fair enough.
but maybe you guys can.
I
It's
think.
not a thing of like. Anyway, you go. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I think it's sort of one of those things that, like, personally, my opinion of at least the first Hunger Games is that it's pretty average in terms of, like, the rest of the franchise. I'd probably. It's. In terms of my personal ranking of the Hunger Games movies, it's. It's third out of. It's like 3 out of the 5. It's average.
worst one. It's the worst fucking one.
Hold on. I'm gonna beat you
Okay.
over with a stick. Get back to your
Personally,
cage.
my favorite is Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That
Get
that
back to
movie
your
was
cage,
that
you
movie was fucking
dog.
peak. It was so good. So, Alex,
I
You
changed my
also,
rating. It wasn't bad. It was great. It was fucking amazing.
Alex, you also haven't seen the original Hunger Games, but you saw Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes with me. So I'm curious as to like how like whether your perspective would be different of some of the character, i.e., President Snow, since you saw the prequel beforehand, like before the
What
rest.
an interesting question. That's a good question, actually. Um, well, I'll first off just say I never saw the Hunger Games as a kid. Partially I'm kind of glad I didn't because I don't think as a kid I would have gotten the subtext of the film. I'm gonna come out here with a real complicated take and say that I think the movie is quite intelligent with what the subtext it's trying to weave in, and I think that's because the author isn't like a Stephanie Meyer. In fact, actually, I remember reading somewhere that she really didn't take much part in the press of the Hunger Games because she's she's someone who's much more introspective and thoughtful. So I really liked this film. I thought it was very telling in the way of, particularly in the Bush administration, of how Western cultures tend to handle uh, very traumatic and horrible societal things that we just see as completely normal, even though it's very like brutal, barbaric. How we commodify tragedy and make spectacle of it. I thought it was quite smart. On the topic of Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I'll also go on record and say I really liked that film.
It's
Uh,
so
I know there
good.
was I know there was some discourse on Twitter about how some people thought that since President Snow was hot, he got away with it.
What?
And my complicated, he could get away. Yeah, he was a young guy who was hot. But I think that the fact that President Snow was hot in Ballad of Songs and Snakes was a good thing because of I don't know. It didn't make him redeemable. It sort of pointed out as to why people let him get away with things,
I have a
and
thing to back onto that once you finish.
and on how I viewed President Snow in this film, I probably would have just forgotten he was there, if I hadn't seen Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. But knowing his whole journey into becoming the little fucking cretin that he is now, um, that was interesting. Knowing the history behind this world before I watched The Hunger Games kind of made me feel like it had been living for a lot longer than I had. Um, and I was like, oh, okay, so this world is like fully developed and things have just gotten worse since President Snow. In Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, everything's very 50s retro vibes, and I think that is really good because then it's juxtaposed by the futurism of President Snow's Hunger Games. Um, and yeah, the fact that he pointed towards the whole like never give them hope thing,
Mm.
uh, I was like, yeah, because you fell in love with a woman and then she found out you're a bit of an incel and you got your friend killed, you fucking you
Yeah,
dingus.
that sequence was the thing I was like, oh wait, I reckon that Alex thinks of this slightly differently. I was like, I gotta ask.
Yeah, because before I would have seen him as just some mustache twirling villain, or Ronald Reagan. Um,
I thought he was like a plantation owner or some shit.
Whoa!
I mean, he looks it.
I mean, yeah. Hey,
Like,
hang on a
okay,
minute. Hey, wait a minute. No, we don't have to
he
do him
literally
like that.
talks about the districts like they're fucking slaves. Things we need, you know?
well, yeah, I think I will. I think that he's now that I've understood the Battle of Songbirds and Snakes, and I've seen his fall from somebody who was like a slightly more quiet liberal to someone who's full on like oh yeah, I love the Hunger Games because I get to kill children and blah 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 blah, and my wife left me. Yeah, I really liked him in this film. He felt a lot more like a character, which I can't really, which I have to give to just Balder Songbirds and Snakes for setting up President Snow for me. But yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this film. I think that as a kid, I remember Hunger Games getting so much shit by my peers because I don't know, girls liked it or something. But I don't know. I think I'm actually going to watch the other Hunger Games movies now because I do think it is interesting.
Catching
Um,
Fire peak.
I do think it's interesting how, particularly when it was written during the Bush administration, during the Iraq War, and
Yeah.
and the reality TV, how it mixes those themes together. So
Yeah,
go on, Kai. You say
basically.
what you have to think.
Okay, yeah, so basically the way, for those who don't know, which I feel like most people do, the way the Hunger Games was created was basically the author, she was just like going through channels on the TV and it was flipping between reality TV and footage from the Iraq War. And that's sort of how she started formulating this idea of like this sort of like violence like broadcasts as a sort of like competitive sort of like thing, I guess. Um, yeah. So about President Snow being hot in Battle of Songbirds and Snakes, because I guess this is just gonna turn into talking about just the Hunger Games as a whole, I guess. Um, it's very similar to Death Note and a lot of other and like what's it called? Monster, which is another peak Death Note type anime. Where the character, he's supposed to be like so attractive and so charming, a lot like serial killers like Ted Bundy and stuff. They're supposed to be so attractive and charming that they can't possibly be the bad guy. Like people think, oh, it can't possibly be them, because a lot of societies stereotypes of like criminals and stuff is that they're ugly, they're not the best looking, or like various things like that. It's a common like sort of stereotype, I guess.
I thought it
Like a lot
linked
of
back.
people will say like I hear this this comparison thing a lot. Like if a romance movie, if you replace the main actor with Danny DeVito and it becomes a horror movie, then it's not a good romance movie. Like instantly, like because Danny DeVito doesn't fit society's expectations of like beauty and stuff, he's instantly like he's seen in a negative light with that sort of stuff. So it's sort of like a similar thing of like President Snow as a young man is like so attractive, but like it sort of hides his, because in the book, bro is fucked up. He like in Battle of Songbirds and Snakes, like he has some horrible thoughts about like all of the women in school, even like his is she like his sister or his cousin? I think one of the things he thought about her was that like she is pretty enough that she would get trafficked. Like,
What the
yeah,
fuck?
Yeah,
he is really really
he's a
fucked
pretty
up.
he's pretty effed in the old head, the old noggin machine, you know.
Deserves to be effed in the A.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Girlfriend
think
pegged him too much and then she left. But I think to loop it back around to the current Hunger Games movie, as a film, how it stands on its own and my own thoughts, I liked it. I think it achieved what it was trying to do, and particularly with my thoughts on Warhammer 40k growing as of current, I think it at least offered a snapshot into a dystopian reality that could be built upon, but also didn't necessarily need to have a sequel, because I don't necessarily think. I'm interested to hear what Cameron says, but based on the initial thesis I heard weeks ago from Cameron, I don't necessarily agree this film is just about killing kids.
That's
Do you
not what I
mind?
said.
Do you
Okay.
mind if I get one last thing in?
You guys can do everything that you need to.
All right.
I'm listening to
Cameron.
classical music while I plot and scheme
Bro
and
is
brood.
lighting the piano on fire as he plays. Yeah, I still hold that I don't like this film particularly. I don't exactly know why, but I don't like many films of this era for some reason. I don't know why, but maybe it's down to the casting, where something like that. Stylized, dark, gritty, very hard subject matter. You'll notice in my list most of them that I put on in there unironically are like very fun, campy smash cuts with a lot of color. So maybe it's just not to my taste. The subject matter and the politics, great. No problems with it. But it I felt as though it was dry. It's a good standing point block, but it's not something that you can look at for much color. But great to put a base on. I'll say that.
Like it's good as like something that sets up a series like or a franchise, but as a standalone,
Yeah.
it's not
It's
as
not
good.
something that I'd recommend just watching. If you want to
Yeah.
watch The Hunger Games, watch The Hunger Games. Like the whole thing, not just The Hunger Games, you know?
I will
Yeah.
say I'll back Chris up on that one. Sorry, Kaya, but I'll back Chris up on that one since Chris and I are the Hunger Games acolytes. If I didn't, if I didn't know it was already a big franchise and there's like 4 other movies, I may have some different opinion of it. Because I can't necessarily look at this film through the lens of, oh wait, there are other Hunger Games films I never knew. I only knew about this one. You're telling me there are 4 others?
On its own, it is
We're
dry.
getting another one in 2026.
Wait, fucking really?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm
We're
excited
getting
for it.
Haymitch, the mentor. We're getting his games, which I'm
Yeah,
hyped
we're
for.
getting. It's called Sunrise. It's called Sunrise on the Reaping.
Oh, it's gonna be peak. Anyway,
And the book, if I remember correctly, is coming out at the very end of this year, so I'm excited for that.
sorry to
You, man.
interrupt.
No, no, no. I mean, unless Chris has got anything else to say, you can
No, I'm
finish your
good.
thoughts you finish your thoughts,
Before we
Kaya.
enter into the
Um,
diatribe of Cameron's making.
yeah, I think so yeah, The Hunger Games, as the solo movie, The Hunger Games, I think it's pretty average of The Hunger Games, but also I think like I remember when I told Cameron my ranking last week, they were very surprised. I personally like my favorite is
I was
it
okay, just to interject there, I was mainly surprised because of how similar our rankings were
really
compared to the placement of one. Like,
Mockingjay Part 1.
Mockingjay Part 1, I fucking hate that.
Well, yeah. So
But not as much as I do this one. So,
my personal ranking of the Hunger Games films is Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is number 1, and then Catching Fire, which is number 2, and then Hunger Games, then Mockingjay Part 2, Mockingjay Part 1. Part 1 I put last because it's kind of boring. It's really boring. I mean, I understand why it's there. It's actually the first movie I ever saw alone in cinemas, which is kind of funny. Because basically I didn't get into the Hunger Games until year 7, and the only reason no, it was part 2 that I saw in cinemas. Sorry. The only reason why I got into the Hunger Games was because I was coming back from band camp, and they played and it was in New South Wales, so it was a long drive, and they played part 1 on the TV. So it was the one that got me into the Hunger Games, but looking back on it, it's it's not great compared to the others. I think it's decent, like as a part 1, but eh, that's my thoughts on it. I think the Hunger Games as a whole, it certainly had a big fucking impact culturally. Like, my god, the amount of like dystopian YA novels that we got post Hunger Games is
Super
kind of
fucking.
crazy, and also proved the whole point of like dystopian dystopia as a genre, because a lot of dystopia, especially when it first like became like a thing, which was basically like It first sort of like started becoming mildly mainstream in about like the 1800s, basically post Enlightenment era, and like post I mean like in like a modern sense, okay?
No, no, no. I find it funny that people that it's like some guy from the 1800s coming back from the dead and like looking at some child now being like, I've been Doomer since before your grandfather was born.
Yeah, so so basically I learned about this in year 11 poetry. Um basically it started out as a lot of it was poetry. It was very very, doomsday day, doom and gloom, really sad. And it's basically post Enlightenment era. It was the romantic era of literature and poetry, and then it was basically dystopia started as basically a counterculture. Um sort of like and yeah, so basically like dystopia's been around for a long time. But and like they've been making books and media about it for a long time. But like in the very modern day sense, in terms of like our generation, the Hunger Games was the thing for like millennials and Gen Zers. That was like the start of the dystopia craze. And the whole like a lot of the time with dystopia, it's very, it's very political, and a lot of it is anti-capitalist and adjacent. um and so it's like really funny post Hunger Games, the amount of dystopia that we got. Maze Runner, Divergent killed the dystopian YA genre basically because of how bad it
Oh,
was.
darn.
It's
Oh
like
my
if
god.
you told Chat GPT to write a dystopian book, that's what you get. Divergent. Um,
It frustrates me so much
the
because Divergent as a concept is so
I
cool.
know,
The
bro.
the way that they have it, but fuck me, they ruined everything
And also
within the first 10 pages.
the movie franchise was so bad that they never even finished it.
Good.
They hit you with the part one and never did part two.
I'll
Um,
be honest, that may have been a good thing.
yeah, honestly, it's actually really funny that we have Hunger Games now, because Netflix just released a movie called what's it, like Uglies or whatever, which is a dystopian society that prioritizes beauty or whatever. Like everyone is pretty. Um, and they cast Joey King as like the main female protagonist. And yeah, so I think like, and that movie apparently is like straight out of like Divergent 2014. Um, but yeah, I know it's Hunger Games is as like a cultural thing. It's this weird place of it boosted dystopia to a height that we hadn't seen in God knows how long, but it also then sort of became its own like enemy, I guess, because it started this whole movement. It then dystopia as a genre sort of became a little bit like,
Milk toast.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's basically
Does tend to
it.
It does tend to happen in a lot of genres where it starts to become more mainstream and thus they want to have more broad appeal. So
It
some of
loses its
the
juice.
yeah, some of the juice loses, like cyberpunk. Cyberpunk as a genre is a stingent critique of capitalism and commodification and attachment to commodities by literally making us put brands brands of cyberware into our bodies, and then we rep those brands as we go. It's a pretty good narrative device.
I
But
love
then
having DRM in my fucking legs.
I'm
My
repping
knees
Target.
don't work if I don't pay the corporations their fucking fees.
You guys have
Well,
the Gucci knees?
I've got the
Bro, they're gold plated.
Target toes and the Kmart chest, okay? But the issue is with Cyberpunk, is that a lot of people, when they get into it, simply just see the veneer of cool, cool,
Cool
oh sick,
aesthetic.
cool legs. And then some people will say
Green.
this is a cyberpunk aesthetic, but then it has nothing to do with capitalism. The aesthetic serves the function of the story's narrative, if that makes sense. In our visual storytelling class, but told don't just pick an aesthetic because there's no reason to it. You can, but it's better if you have some intention to it, which is what I think the Hunger Games does well,
Yeah, I think
and
like
Divergent doesn't.
yeah, as a franchise and as a okay, as a book series, The Hunger Games is brilliant. As a film series, especially in the first one and in part 1, it starts to do, the thing of like any YA series. Oh, we have to focus on the love interest. Oh, we have to focus on the fucking love interest. It
Yeah,
sort of,
that part
a
also
lot of
turns
it
me off of it.
loses like its message of, revolution and stuff, and just sort of becomes watered down to a bit of a love story at a lot of times. And how like Twilight had the whole like Team Edward, Team Jacob? Yeah, let me introduce you to Team Peter and Team Gale. First of all, let me just say, Gale is an asshole. A
Can you
fucking
blow my
cunt.
whistle, baby?
Fuck
Whistle,
that
baby,
guy.
let me know.
I mean, Liam Hemsworth was
He looks
cast
weird.
perfectly because he looks like an asshole. Please don't sue me. But like, bro, honestly, like the fans themselves also proved Suzanne Collins' point, and dystopia as a whole, like the whole genre's point of like the aesthetics, the the coolness of like in the book of Ballad and Songbirds and Snakes, the actual like the arena scenes, like the actual Hunger Games part, is very different than in the movie, I've been told, because I haven't actually read Ballad. But basically, it's meant to be really dull and really boring. A lot of the early Hunger Games, like the games, are all like the whole point of them starting to broadcast the games is because no one was interested because they were so boring. It used to be a public coliseum type thing, but people stopped going because it was so boring. But in the movie, because people in the previous Hunger Games, with the previous Hunger Games films, were like, oh, we want more violence, we want to see more violence, they added more in Ballad, which again proves Suzanne Collins' point about the Hunger Games. Like, the fans are actively like doing what the Capitol does. You know?
Yeah, I definitely. I I want to touch on the love interest. I'm sorry, Cameron. I swear we'll be
It's
done.
all good.
We will
I
give you all the time
I
you want
I do
afterwards.
I just
Half an
have
hour of screaming.
I just have one thing I want to say on the love interest. I liked the subtext, and the subtext was that in order to survive this horrific thing, Katniss kinda had to give up her own self-determination and completely sell to everyone around her that she actually liked Peter without seeing any of the other films, alright? I guarantee I'll be proven wrong, but without seeing any of the other films, I did not leave the cinema, no, my cinema, I mean, I didn't leave my couch thinking that, that Katniss really had fallen in love with Peter. I fully believed after seeing that Katniss was just like, okay, I'm a relatively like mentally sound person who has purely survived the games because I'm not a raging psychopath. Uh, I probably should start trying to sell to the people who are watching this that I have some sort of story to invest them in. Part of the games is Katniss learning to become a little bit of a ghoul in order to fit in with the society that is just made to kill her. She is a
That's more
sheep in wolf's
right there.
clothing. Like
Yeah.
and I don't know. In the first film, I didn't mind the love interest stuff because I could tell that Katniss was just faking it, like in its entirety. And
Does
to
Peter
me,
actually love Katniss? Because
oh
I felt
Yes.
as though.
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Peter loves Katniss. Katniss in this film is like I just want to go home.
I felt as though Peter was like kind of also doing that stuff because he knew it would be
I
tactical.
mean, I think he
Like,
was probably playing it up a little bit, but he does very much fall in love with Katniss. And
I
he
see.
has kind of had a crush on her. Like the whole like throwing the bread thing and everything like that. Like
Also, I know
yeah.
Katniss's fucking archery skills are really good, but like Peter made himself into the environment whilst bleeding from the leg. You fucking kidding
I
me?
used
This
to
guy
decorate the
would be a
cakes at the
commando.
bakery back
Give
back
this a
home.
guy a gun and like set him in that forest for like an hour. Everybody's dead.
If Peter
No
wasn't
fucking
if Peter wasn't
yeah.
so nice.
If
Peter is
Peter was not a
just young
kind,
Rambo.
kind child, he would be God's best psychopath. Good
Yeah.
Lord.
Alex, I
will
would once you watch Catching Fire, I would love to talk to you about Finnick O'Dare.
Oh, I spent some time icing cakes. I now know how to disappear into the wilds like no one's business.
I will say on
deadass.
Katniss's
God.
archery skills, this is a personal thing, and I'm gonna preface this by saying that I don't mean this from a misogynist lens, alright? I kinda liked how she wasn't like the best at archery, because I'll tell you this, I've watched my growing up media was action films, superhero media, cop procedurals, basically cool guy does cool thing, right?
Mm.
That was a lot of my growing up outside of rom-coms. And I gotta admit, I got tired of the protagonist just always being the best at what they did. So having part of Katniss's arc in this film being learning to be able to make it on the first shot, which she manages to do by the end by putting down the guy from District 2 from the Wolves. At the end, she only needs one shot to put him down, but throughout the entirety of the film, it's her learning how to make it so that way she can do it in one shot, not two.
It's like it's her improving.
I liked that. I like it when the main action protagonist is kind of shit in some aspects. That's what I liked about Nobody,
I
was the fact that he got his shit kicked in.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, especially on the whole, like, the character is great at everything there, Mary Sue, because that is the most common action female character trope right
Well, it's
now.
not even just
Captain
action female
Marvel,
trope. It's
for
not even just action
instance.
women.
Oh,
It's not,
oh God.
it's not just action women. It's like the Bruce Willis types. It's men as well. Is an issue in the action genre as a whole. It's like I get why. It's because most people, when they go to watch an action film, don't want to watch Bill from The Office trip over for like 10 hours.
I do. Fuck
I
you,
do.
Alex. I
No,
do.
no, Chris, I want to see that. But most audiences are like, I want to see like a
The
group
audience
of
is
veterans.
dumb.
Yeah, I
Yes.
agree. They're fucking stupid. I want to see a
Yeah,
class.
you hear that, guy watching this fucking podcast? Fuck you. You're the worst.
Fuck you, piece of
Piece
shit.
of shit.
I love you, Jaden.
Love you, Tom. It's fine.
Oh,
But you know, I think like yeah, I agree with you. Like it's action protagonist as a whole, but especially like nowadays, it's more so become like a really popular thing with female characters. Like currently, there's like it's a trend. Because they want to do the whole like, oh, female empowerment, she's perfect, she's a girl boss, she can do whatever she wants, but they don't actually take the time and consideration to think like the best female characters, like the best female empowerment characters, are the characters who learn, who grow, who
I
train and
think it's
get
just the
better,
best
and who just
characters.
have like flaws, you know, like Katniss, for
Crippling
example.
crack cocaine addiction.
Like the main character from Prey.
Yes.
Her whole
That is
thing was
true.
like, her whole thing was the fact that she
I
needed
still
to.
hold that they were using obsidian.
Oh my
For
God.
fuck's sake, we
I will
can't do
not
this again.
stop, and I will die on this obsidian hill of mine.
And with that, we're not going to move to cookies because there has been someone in this podcast who has been quietly listening to classical music and
Very
we're too lazy.
patiently.
Piano on fire as this
So-
man plays.
So dear audience, Kaya, Chris, and I are probably going to just shut the fuck up.
Cameron
And Cameron,
presenting
take
in
stage.
Wait, hold on. Before Cameron does,
Fuck
can
the
we
Hunger Games.
hold on? Can we have a dispute section afterwards?
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's list our issues
I'll
There will be
afterwards.
no
yeah.
disputes.
I'll make a I'll make a
No.
list of like arguments against you after you finish.
Sure.
Yeah, no, but this next, until Cameron is done, we are letting Cameron, who was prepared a script, mind you, diatribe.
Of
prepared-
hatred.
829 words of hatred for this piece of media.
The notes to his recital.
And with that, audience, I welcome Cameron to center stage to take us away.
Before I actually enter this, I need to give you guys some background. I am a big fan of the Hunger Games series, both the books and the movies, because I think what Suzanne Collins has actually created is a very interesting world. The world building that she's written is very enticing. It's got a good message regarding authoritarianism, the effects of the elite, and how they laugh at people below them. I think that Katniss as a character is actually quite strong in the later novels. The first one, not that great. But this one fucking movie, has made me genuinely hate the Hunger Games as a whole regarding the film franchise. It irks me every single time that I have to watch a new movie from the series because I am reminded of the first one. And there is a reason for that. In my opinion, the 2012 Hunger Games movie is an atrocity not only to the book it originates from, but also to the death game genre as a whole. It is one that portrays a dystopia in which the world cheers for the death of teenagers and romanticizes that same world by sanitizing the brutality of that book and partially defeating the message that the first novel had. Despite working directly on the adaptation of this work to screens, Suzanne Collins somehow lost a lot of the most impactful consequences, both within the story and outside of it, of the first Hunger Games by removing most of, if not all, the actual brutal violence that the original book contained. One of the reasons that actually harms the dystopia it attempts to present is that it fails to show any actual consequence to the death of its players. What is the point of caring? Why would I care about any of these side characters that are dying when in reality in the book they are just nameless characters? We don't care, and that is the point. These are supposed to be individuals who, why the fuck would we even bother thinking about them as a whole? Because they're not going to come back, they're dead. However, when you put that into a visual medium, it gives a face, it gives a name, actor, to that person. So you're like, oh, that's one of my favorite actors. I really hope that they live. Doesn't fucking matter because you see their death. Sometimes, actually, a lot of the time in this movie, you don't see their deaths at all, and that makes it even worse. We actually, and even following on from the game itself, we see a small uprising forming outside of the game, but whether that's stirred from the controversy that the games are having every year or anything else, we don't fucking know. It's not told to us. And so many of these issues are fixed by the follow-up movies and films. And that is what irritates me so much about this film, because it achieves so much good world building from its first hour. It's brilliant. But the moment that it hits that second hour and touches and the game begins, it falls flat on its face and has one of Katniss's arrows shoved up its own ass, right? The training, the parades, the fact that Katniss is in active disdain for the people getting her ready for that same parade and getting ready to present her to the Capitol, it's all very effective. And Jennifer Lawrence, I think I can't actually imagine anyone else as this character now because of how effective of a performance she gave. She made the character of Katniss Everdeen better than it is in the books. But if the purpose of the reaping is to provide entertainment for the Capitol, you would think that there would still be those disapproving, even 11 or more years later on? And if it's to control the population, 24 contestants is fucking nothing. I'm sorry, 2 people from each. And also that makes no sense because why would you kill the young, not the old? And it presents all of these different reasons for the games but then does nothing to investigate them afterwards within that singular movie. Not only does the book not really do that either, and it goes on to that in the follow-ups, but at least the book actually touches on that somewhat afterwards. Any plot outside of the game, sorry, any plot once the game gets started is shallow at best and actively harmful to the dystopian world that it builds at worst. The actors themselves are a very mixed bag with this film as well, because the fact that this was one of Josh Hutchinson's Mr. Whistleman's first roles, he's fucking phenomenal. He shows Pete's unrequited love in the beginning very, very well. And you could see that in both his physical body language and the way that he talks. And on top of that, he plays it extremely well when compared to his book counterpart. I would argue as well that to go from the over-sexualized femme fatale Mystique to the selfless, adaptive, and intelligent Katniss Everdeen is a huge leap in Jennifer Lawrence's career and demonstration of how the amazing acting ability that she has. But it actually all just ends up falling flat for me from the actual situation that these characters find themselves in. Why the fuck would you fall in love and try to get into a relationship with someone when you know that you must be killed by the end? This is before even the rules change, which therefore also enforces the stupid fucking dystopia that breaks the world building because, oh, this is the first time that the rules are changed, or is it not? It's never actually told to us, it just happened. So, like, why would we actually care about these rules when they could be changed at a moment's notice? It is a silly idea to just even want to try and fall in love with someone in a game where you have to kill them. You're not a fucking Romeo and Juliet situation. You need to kill them, no matter what. Katniss even says it herself to Pete. 24 go in, only 1 comes out. But on top of that, to wrap back around to the brutality, within the book, Pete loses his damn fucking leg. One of the tributes has their head bashed in with a rock rather than just getting slammed into the cornucopia. Like, we are talking, it is actively described. The amount of detail that Suzanne Collins goes into regarding the head being bashed in with a rock from one of the I think it's a District 2 girl near the beginning. It's a
Clove?
lot. I think it's Clove. Yeah, I can't remember the name. I couldn't care less actually. But that I think those 2 are pretty bad examples, especially Pete losing his leg, which actually has follow-on consequences for the rest of the series, right? Which, because it doesn't happen in the film, he just has his leg still, which actually ruins some of the moments that get adapted later on in the franchise. But that's a conversation for when we get to those movies later on in the podcast's life. To even wrap back around to the stuff that Katniss does, Katniss shoots someone in their throat with a bow and arrow, not their chest. I forget what I think it's that.
Marvel?
Sure. So I honestly
The one
can't
who
remember
kills
anything.
Rue?
I can't remember honestly.
Jack Quaid.
Yeah, sure, Jack Black. I don't fucking know.
Holy shit, my favorite Hunger Games character.
Katniss shoots someone in the throat and has to, like, is basically forced by her situation to watch them lose the air and life from their lungs to confirm their death, traumatizing her and motivating her to begin this revolution later on in the story. Yet, because this doesn't happen in the film, the audience is shown very, very, very little to actually think about what is going on within Katniss's head, both during and after the games. And on top of that, Haymitch, right, a previous winner of the games, in the film, he's a bit of a jackass, but it's like, oh, okay, you're the person that I should get my information from regarding the games. What should I do? Any tips, anything like that? No, Haymitch in the book is a fucking obese drunk who was so traumatized from his games because of the abuse that he suffered that he thinks the only way to win is by mocking and abusing the tributes during the week prior to the game, just like he did. Right? There is nothing like that in this film because the fucking sanitization of this book in its adaptation.
It's gonna be clean.
The sanitization is pointless because it defeats both the message and the execution of what is a genuinely good message. This film has basically nothing to say. There is a film that actually has something to say within the same genre, and it's constantly compared, despite the fact these two had no idea about each other. Suzanne Collins, when writing The Hunger Games, did not know that Battle Royale existed. And I'm going to touch about Battle Royale a little bit, but I will talk about this a lot more once we get to Battle Royale in the podcast.
Because it is on the list.
I know. And that is a film that actually says something regarding the contemporary political state of Japan when the film was made. Not just a very, very watered down generic warning of fascism and totalitarianism that is seen time and time again. I am so fucking bored. Do something original with your message about fascism, because you want to know who did it the best? 1984.
Based.
And it even does the forbidden love thing of the Hunger Games better than it did, because you want to know what? The main two characters in their relationship get fucking executed in 1984. Sorry if you haven't read it. Spoilers, I guess. They get executed.
It's not like it's been out for like 40 years.
Longer.
70. Came out in the 40s.
Close enough.
That'd be nearly 90 then. Anyways.
Shit, you're right.
Yeah, so 1984 does the dystopia better, but it does the romance better. It does not, and on top of that, it does not mix the two, because because the film, The Hunger Games, romanticizes that dystopia by showing a young adult audience its forbidden love, and that it's allowed to exist. There is no actual consequences for this forbidden love. However, something like 1984, there is genuine consequences. There is an actual reason why these people need to be afraid and need to go out into the woods to fuck multiple times, constantly. The 1984, they fuck so much. Holy shit, right? And even to loop back around to the message of the whole thing of the elite being the elite and rich laughing at the killing of the poor. You wanna know who does that better? Fucking Squid Game. Fucking Squid Game, because they actually show the audience engaging with that killing. They show how much they actually enjoy and how much they are willing to pay to see these poor, horrible victims of this trick to get slaughtered. And it is probably they get slaughtered in the most horrific ways. And it shows the audience how much they've been perverted by their status. The Hunger Games doesn't fucking do that. They do basically jack shit, just comparing it to a fucking reality TV show, which is the most surface level message I've ever fucking seen when it comes to something from the death game genre. Even going back to Battle Royale, the reason that the Battle Royale exists is because it is a secret law implemented recently from the Japanese government, in which, for population control, only one of the classmates can come in. Now, because of that, it means that all of these characters have a relationship with each other. It focuses on every single character as a whole, as a group. The Hunger Games focuses entirely on Pete and Katniss, mainly on Katniss, and I think it also harms the film itself by doing that, because it does not display the actual violence of the games once again. And I know exactly what you were talking about earlier, Kaya, regarding the author discussing, like, oh yeah, the audience wanted more violence. Oh, it's, this is like, oh, this is actually, this is just like the capital in my story. Oh, but the metaphor exists. No, it fucking doesn't. I'm sorry. That is so fucking stupid to say, because if you're going to argue that that is a invalid complaint, you do not know your audience, because you have to realize that the people who want to go see a movie about teenagers killing each other for sport are the same people who want to see that a level of violence, not a sanitized version of it. But also, on top of that, there is actually so much storytelling that can be done from brutality within a story. I I never thought that I would fucking say this in my life,
Oh no.
but I think after reading some stuff, some actual bits of story, and actually I finally just finished my first ever 40k novel, Warhammer 40k. Holy fuck.
Wait, which
It is
novel?
I forget what it was. It was one of the Horus Heresy. I think it was Horus Rising.
Oh, okay, okay. You read Horus Rising. Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
I read Horus Rising. I've only just finished it like the other night. I listened to the audiobook, and holy shit, it actually is a brilliant demonstration of how brutality can be used in a story in any circumstance. It is a threat, it is a promise, it is a storytelling device, because it demonstrates both the mental state of the characters and also who these characters are as a person, right? It humanizes the characters in such a grim and horrifying setting that we can relate to them in the fact that, oh, it's kill or be killed, right? We have to do this. But in the Hunger Games, going back to the whole consequences thing, we see the fact that they've died, but we didn't know these people. We didn't fucking care.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We didn't give a shit, right? So, you know what? Don't bother watching this movie. Go read the book. Watch the rest of the series, or even better, just go fucking watch Battle Royale. And actually understand why this genre has its hooks in so many people in the first place. There you go.
God, motherfucking damn.
Damn.
Okay. Shit. Well, fuck. I have some points.
To the audience.
You know, I gotta
If
be honest, I
you-
agree with most of what you said, Cameron. I'm just like personally not as invested in it, like
Wait,
from
what was
that
that, Chris?
perspective.
To the audience, if you like dry, chafed bread, watch this film. If you don't, read the book. But
I
hey,
have
you
more
might
to
like
say,
stale
but
white
I
bread.
know that I have been talking for the past 20 minutes, and I don't want to continue that until we get to the episode where we compare the two.
Okay.
I need to let my rage fester more.
Imagine we get Battle Royale next.
Oh, that would be even
Fuck.
better.
That would
Oh
be
my god,
hilarious.
please.
See,
Wait, so Cameron,
Please.
honestly, Cameron, I agree with a lot of what you say, about this film. Just in regards to the like the brutality, I think the main thing that also I don't think it was actually the author herself who had issue with it. I think it was mainly like audience, purely because it was different from the book. Also,
No,
doesn't Katniss
she,
in book one also like lose half of her hearing because of that explosion?
yeah, I didn't even mention that.
Isn't that
Yeah,
brought up in like another film? I
no,
vaguely remember hearing about
No,
that.
no.
it never happens.
It's
There
because
is
Oh,
zero
it
really?
doesn't happen.
consequences.
It doesn't happen in the movie. But when she blows up the Korea Pack stuff, she loses at least half her hearing. I think it was like, or in like one ear or something like that.
Yeah,
Because
she goes half deaf.
yeah, because explosion. That's kind of how
Oh,
it works.
also, sorry, just one additional thing that's just come to my head because it's so fucking stupid. The concept of dogs eating you if you do not listen, that's fucking
Huh?
stupid. Just what is it? The fucking mutts. I forget what they're called.
Yeah, the
Is it the
mutts?
mutts?
Like
Yeah.
in
No.
Close enough.
what do you mean by like if you
Clear
don't
enough.
listen?
Regarding the final standoff at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the film,
Yeah.
right? Just why not? Why not have something similar to the way that other battle royales do it? I think it is if you're going to sanitize a film, don't have people getting ripped apart by dogs at the end of that film because you have done nothing to actually desensitize the audience or work up to that, right? If you're going to do that, have it be some form of cannon fire like they do for the rest of the film. Have it be some form of where the fuck are the cannon shells going? Huh?
The cannon
Huh?
shells.
Yeah, the ones that fire off whenever someone dies.
No,
I mean,
that's just a signal that they've
Is it just a
died.
signal?
It's just a
no,
signal. It's not. It
it's just
doesn't
a
mean. It's
Oh,
just like it's a sound that like tells the rest of the people, like the rest of the tributes, that someone
oh.
died.
Well, even then, use a fucking cannon. I'll be honest, it's a much better use of a cannon.
Fair. I
Just,
think
just,
like. Oh, sorry.
just blow shit up. It's much better than using a pack of dogs because you have to fucking feed them. Then you have to starve them willingly, and then you have to,
Well,
train them to
the
kill.
well,
no,
well,
okay, well,
well,
I'll
the
push back
Logistically,
here.
just use a cannon.
well, no, no,
I'll
no.
push back.
The dogs are like in the book. The dogs are actually mutated and created from the bodies of the dead tributes.
And did
Oh,
They're
they touch on that at all in
they're
this
they're
film? No.
they're bioengineered. They're made to kill. They're like the snakes in
I wish they touched more on
Ballad.
the bioengineering. It seems pertinent.
They and like the mutts in Mockingjay Part 2, like they're made to kill. And I think also the mutts from that as well are also like created from like people like people of the rebellion. Um but they're not
I
like they're
will.
not actual dogs. They sanitize that too. They censored that too in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I will say something on on a few things you said, Cameron. Just as my few cents. Not two, it's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more. Um, but
Order.
I agree with you on the sanitization front. But I think that comes from the fact that this came out in a post Harry Potter world, where in the absence of Harry Potter or the soon to be absence of Harry Potter, studios were looking for the next big like franchise thing. And this was during the early days of the MCU where it was like kind of a novelty, but it hadn't built up the immeasurable traction that it had. So Hunger Games was attempting to appeal to broad audiences, which is kind of the worst thing you can do for a dystopia like this. And to a point, that is why it made the dystopian genre very popular, is because a lot of people who hadn't experienced a dystopian novel got it through Hunger Games. Now, whether or not it's a good or bad thing, it's up for you to say.
Now,
But
okay, sorry,
okay,
I
hold on.
go on.
Um, on so I think that's partly why it was sanitized, because if you're gonna have a bunch of teens in the audience, you're not necessarily gonna get the greatest reviews if someone's bashing their kid's head in with a rock. Granted, I would have liked to see that, but whatever. On the topic of love in this, I am gonna push back because, again, I think the fact that Peter was, quote, in love with Katniss is a pretty good and a bit standard narrative device that they used. And I wouldn't and I think a lot of your criticisms on the practicality of the games is a little bit fair, I guess. But a story is not really about practicality. Like, sure, they could just kill the guys with hammers, and that would be a lot quicker. But no one's watching the games just to see guys get killed by hammers. They're watching the games to watch the people who are descendant from the people who attempted to overthrow the ruling class uh, get brutally killed. They're using dogs because they're not going to wrap it up in a nice fashion. It's because it's run by TV execs.
It's about the
The final
theatricality.
the final bit of any sort of these performances has to be big, and calling down dogs that are just made to tear contestants apart, that's theatrical. And on the topic of what would you say, like it wasn't necessarily realistic for there to be the society of laughing rich people or something. I didn't quite get your point on the dystopian, on like
No, so
dystopian real life.
when I say that, I mean it is the capital as a people is such a large populace that then there it is. I cannot put my disbelief in suspension for that many people to be
I don't
willing
know.
to cheer on these games.
I don't know.
And
I think all you need to do is look at a Democratic National Convention in recent times and look at the people who are leaving that when it comes to looking at the protesters outside, or simply we don't understand entirely because we didn't actually get to experience the exact world post 9/11. But if you look at footage of everyday Americans where after the Twin Towers fell, those bitches were racist as all hell. Like, after the Twin Towers fell, there were people who were willingly cheering on the discrimination and the active hunting down of Muslim Americans across the entire country. People were excited for war like they'd never been, because for once America got a mere taste of the horrific atrocities they'd inflicted on the world for like the last few decades up to that point. And because of that, there were people who were willingly cheering on the war in Afghanistan, and it wasn't a minority of people, it was a majority. And all we have to look to do is look into the genocide within the is look to the genocide within Palestine right now, and currently as we stand. If you look at the Democratic National Convention, every single one of them are preaching hope and joy, as Kamala Harris is saying, we're gonna have the most lethal military on earth. There are like millions of people as we speak getting really hyped to have a war hawk for a president. I kind of have to disagree with you on the fact that we can't suspend your disbelief. Because frankly, I looked at that and I was like, damn, this is just the Democratic Party as it stands now. Hell, it's a lot of our parties here as well. I mean, do any of you
okay,
remember the 2010s? Like
okay.
the way that the Australian government actively participated in like
War
discriminating
crimes.
against war
Oh
crimes,
yeah.
active discrimination against asylum seekers who were coming here, and the
Also,
fact
do
that
we
the Australians
remember
will do
the
it.
terrorist attack on the Lit store in Sydney? The amount of people who were like extremely Islamophobic and racist after that was
Oh
crazy. And
yeah.
also, like, even putting aside real world like examples, these people have been the Hunger Games. This is the 74th Hunger Games. It has been almost a century of these games. These people, the people who remember the uprising, are not as common, and they have raised their children and their grandchildren to believe in this and this normalcy. Like, if I was in this setting and I had grown up and it had been 74 years of Hunger Games, it's normal. You would react the same. Don't say that you would be different, because you most likely wouldn't when you've been groomed and brought up in this society that believes that killing children and watching it for sport and betting on who you think is going to win when it's teenagers killing them, like killing each other, you most likely would not be different if you were raised in the capital.
Hell, just look at any sort of like second generation Israeli kid now who fucking protested outside of a prison to let IDF soldiers rape Palestinians because it's moral.
I think
I
it's very
think you I
realistic.
think you have not understood what I meant by that point.
Okay, what did you mean?
See, the reason that I say I cannot suspend my disbelief to that is because of this is supposed to be a place full of the rich and elite. The generational wealth in this sort of dystopia would be incredibly controlled. And on top of that, the reason that I bring up something such as Squid Game is that there is actually like not that large of an audience regarding that. That makes sense, right? Oh, but the fact that this is I understand that this is a mandatory televised annual event. Mandatory, right?
You must
However,
look at these people die.
that
You
means
know,
that
literally, it is.
that means that there will be people disagreeing with that. There will be people who, even in the capital, despite the fact that they're grown, they will think differently. Because that's just how humans are. There will always be someone who does not agree.
You know what? I wouldn't agree with Hunger Games because I'm a contrarian asshole.
Exactly,
I'd be
Christopher.
different.
Christopher, I love you. Thank you. You
I
proved my
can't argue
point.
with I can't argue with that.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck
Exactly.
you.
Okay,
I win.
okay, I see your point, Cameron, but not to drag it back to current day events, but again, the Hunger Games I think is good in this essence because it does capture that. Yeah, there's gonna be people who would disagree, but the issue is that it is seen in how we handle our own crises like this. Yeah, sure, there are rich people who think that we shouldn't be exploiting people as much, yet they still do because they have the luxury to what is it? They have the luxury to be able to like say, yeah, nah, I disagree with this, but I'm still gonna partake in it, right? The capital does seem to have like for example, Katniss's main stylist lives in the capital and disagrees with the ideas of the game. But the thing is that if any of them were to step out of line of this generational wealth cycle, they would end up like somewhere in the districts
It's funny
because
you bring. It's funny you bring that up.
Because
yeah,
it
And
gets
that and
shown in
that
the later
and
novels.
and
Wow.
that specific character. It's funny you bring that up.
It's really funny that you bring that up.
So
But guess
basically,
what?
the Hunger
That's not
Games is
shown
more of
in
a
this
satire than
movie.
anything.
Yeah, but it doesn't need
Guess
to be
what?
because it's a franchise, Cameron.
Yes,
So
but
just to
okay,
collate.
hang on. I need to talk about this. This
Okay.
we are talking about this movie as a singular work. We are talking about the adaptation of the book, and the book also was not. You do not write a book as a franchise, right? You do not know if the book is going to sell well. This character was not seen again until the next book. These ideas were not adapted until later on in the franchise, and when the author knew that it was going to actually be successful and popular. Same thing with the movie. The franchise had already become popular. Therefore, by not having that in that first film, it doesn't matter because in the first book it didn't happen.
Hmm.
I guess, but I still think that his character being a sort of conscientious objector does point to that even people in the capital don't necessarily think that it's a great thing. They think it's kind of sad. But at the same time, I agree with Kaya in the sense that like it's
The
built
majority
in,
would agree.
yeah, and it's built into their society. I mean, the Olympics are pretty fucking horrible. They massively displace homeless people. They increase the amount of. They usually crush small
But it's the
businesses.
Olympics.
They
Oh.
crush small businesses. They destroy public transport. And they leave these giant white whales inside of every single city that they go to that
No
never
country
get used.
benefits financially from it. That's why no one put their name forward.
Yeah, but the thing is that the Olympics still happen. There are rich people who disagree with the Olympics and the way that the Olympics happen, yet it still happens. Hell, there's even arguments to be made with American football and how it is essentially just what was it that FD Signifier said? It's sort of just like it's gladiatorial sports with a sort of white slave owner type beat underneath it because people want to see these men, usually black men, beat the shit out of each other just for some other person's entertainment. There is a inherent superiority in looking at these brutal sports with the fact that you're not taking part in it.
It's like
And even
boxing
though,
and wrestling.
yeah, like boxing and wrestling, I think comparing it to a reality TV show may be a bit surface level, but I also think it needs to do much else. I think the movie on its own does translate the themes of the dystopia pretty well. I do agree that it's sanitized. I do think that there were obviously elements in the film that were meant to go further, but they couldn't do it because they were trying to aim for like an M rating at most.
And also runtime.
Not even,
So
not even. They actually did. Suzanne Collins did actually want this film rated higher, but because the producers were like,
you
yes,
want
yes,
some?
we are so close to getting that M rating.
It's
Why don't we just sanitize it more? And
it's
then it was a
PG
constant
13.
effect.
It's PG
It was a
13
constant.
in the US.
Yeah, it was a
Checking
constant
recently.
cycle of we are actually so close to the next level down that it just got resanitized and resanitized to a point where they
It
where
is
to a
M
point
rated in
where they
Australia.
yeah to a point where they ended up having to during editing they shot entirely new scenes once once filming had already been wrapped up because the producers wanted this to be even more sanitized than it was before like after multiple rounds of sanitization anyways. So the vision was there, however, due to the way that the rating systems worked, it has also harmed this film.
Well, yeah, I mean that's just how like producers kind of work in general.
Mm.
It's
I
Money,
will.
it's
money.
not
I do
really a
see
Hunger
your
Games
point.
specific thing.
I do
Can
see
I?
your point regarding.
Hold on.
Hey.
Wait, no, you finished that up, Cameron, but Chris has wanted to say something for a little while now.
Sorry, I do see your point regarding the inherent like want to watch people, like and the sportification of it. But I don't know. It still stops me, and maybe that's just me. Anyways, Chris.
So basically, The Hunger Games is a satire that gave itself over to capitalism and it was about basically criticizing capitalist dictatorships. Well, not dictatorships. Well, kind of
Kind of.
dictatorships. And it got fucked over by capitalism. Not necessarily dictatorship, but like,
A
you
theocracy.
know. Yeah,
I wouldn't
well, not
necessarily say
theocracy.
that.
Is it
Theocracy
no,
is
no,
lame.
sorry, not theocracy. What's it called?
Today on
Uh
learning politics.
I wouldn't call it a satire because it's
It's a
not really.
criticism.
It's a dystopia. It doesn't use satire. It simply is
Yeah,
just a
what
dystopian
definition of
story.
satire again?
Dystopia is not satire.
I know it's not. I know dystopia is satire, but the criticisms feel like exaggeration, I guess.
I can
Is
see what Chris means by a satire.
it
I
doesn't matter. It was just like a
whether or not
weird
it
thought.
actually falls into that category, I can't really
Anyway,
confirm.
ratings 4 out of 10.
Damn.
Damn.
0 out of 10. I hate this fucking film.
I gotta give this one at least like a 7 out of 10.
Like a 6.
Your head's going on spike.
I don't know. I think this is nobody, but this time it's Cameron versus all three of us. Um, I, I'm not gonna say you're wrong because you're not wrong in every aspect. But I do think you're looking at aspects of the film way too literally when that's not the point of a story. Like,
Well, I thought the criticism that
No, what I'm saying is that it defeats the purpose of the story, but the way that it's presented.
I
The
don't know.
adaptation actively removes the point.
I don't know.
I
I
don't think it
disagree
does
with the whole.
fully.
I don't think it does fully either. I think the sanitation thing, you're right. But I don't think on the topic of dogs or just make it killing them quick. Because the point isn't killing them quick. The point is making the workers.
Oh no, that part was just a bit.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, no, I think I completely agree about like the brutality of the dogs. I don't think that it should have been in the movie adaptation if it was going to be as sanitized as it was in the first place, but that's yeah.
Yeah, but it kind of had to be because what else were they gonna do?
No, I can't. I can't keep committing to the bit of blowing them up. Um, just fucking blow them
Well,
up! Oh
no,
my
because
god!
then it would have been like even more unfaithful than it already is, and people like
Yeah, but despite the fact that it was an unfaithful adaptation, look at how popular it still was.
well, that's because it's not like that unfaithful. I mean, there's stuff that obviously, like with any people don't seem to understand that like with any sort of book adaptation things have to be cut, and I'm not talking I'm this isn't like directed at you, Cameron. This is just a thing in general. It's mainly my rage with the Harry Potter fandom and the way that people get
Oh
so
my.
fucking pissed off about like things that aren't included that are in the book. Things have to be fucking cut from books sometimes, and that is okay. You can't include everything in a book that is like, bro, if they made Lord of the Rings and it included every single thing in the books of Lord of the Rings are some of the dullest books in fantasy
I
because
refuse
there
to
is
read them.
so exactly because there is so much filler and unnecessary shit. You can't include everything in a book series. And like, oh,
I think Cameron's internet just cut out.
uh-oh.
It's cool.
Oy.
Keep going.
Damn,
Oh,
you good?
In
So,
an attempt to close tabs on my computer, I may have accidentally closed Discord.
Oh. Oh, the folly
Sorry, did
of
I
man.
did I make that look like I rage quit the
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Oh, that's my bad.
That's real hard.
No, we gotta cut the episode there so it looks like we have drama.
No.
You motherfucker.
What like
That's it. I'm going on Twitter.com.
I mean like you can't cut like you can't include everything in a book, but you also can't cut things from a book and then replace it with something that doesn't make sense or that doesn't happen in the book. Like replacing the dogs with like I don't, like explosions.
And blow them up.
It doesn't make sense.
Look,
Like
I just
for
want
the
to see someone
plot
get blown
or
up,
for
okay?
like as an adaptation.
I just want to see someone get blown up.
I
Why
mean,
don't
they
you
could have
watch
done
a
something like
Michael
what
Bay
they
movie?
did with the fire, but that would have had to have been something that was in the book. Like adding it into the movie would have been weird and out of place.
Okay, consider this. The
Explosion.
Fortnite storm
Yeah, no.
should have come.
Okay, and with that, we're moving on
So,
to cookies,
With-
guys.
with that,
to the
final-
viewers, play more Fortnite. It's just like the Hunger Games.
You know what? I will say this. This episode, the one thing that Alex actually brought up has moved this film from a 0 to a 1. Still the worst one out of all the films, though.
What the fuck did I say?
Wait, yeah, which part?
A vague element of persuasion.
The inherent desire to watch people kill.
Ah, fair.
Damn.
That I can't argue about.
Sociopathy.
Because I fucking love watching teenagers kill.
Look, you brought
I
up
enjoy
Warhammer,
wrestling
and
as
I
much
think
as the
that
next
you
American.
brought up Warhammer, and I think I know we keep saying we'll do bonus episodes. We probably will one day, guys. But like,
It's on the Patreon, but no one knows about. Not even the other podcast members. I'm the only one who knows about
we
our
have a
page.
Patreon? What the fuck?
Oh shit, sorry, you weren't supposed to know about that.
Fuck.
But like,
Mind wipe, mind
top
wipe.
of Dystopia and Warhammer, Horus Rising is apparently a good example of Warhammer done right. But I mean, if you want sanitized dystopias that end up having a worse message,
Divergent.
Divergent.
I wouldn't bring up Warhammer.
Oh yeah, no. Whoa.
I have some hot takes on Warhammer that not everybody agrees with. But on that, we'll go to coffee. We'll go to cookies.
Coffee? I could go for a coffee right
okay,
now at
no,
9:30
no, I
p.m.
agree. I agree with you regarding the sanitization. But that's not the reason that I brought Warhammer up.
Okay, fair enough. Horus Rising is pretty good. Anyway,
Oh god, it was so fucking cool. Sorry,
Okay.
I want to talk about it so bad.
bonus episode.
Okay, so are we moving on to cookies then?
Yes.
Or do we have
I believe
any
so.
any final brief things to bring up because we are already at an hour and 23 minutes.
I do actually have another 900-word document to bring. No, I'm joking.
Save it for catching fire.
Oh no, no,
Catching
we're not.
fire is so peak.
I'm leaving the podcast.
Why?
If we watch Catching Fire, I'm leaving the
Do you
fucking
not
podcast.
like catching fire either?
It's like it. No, look, my rankings. Look, this is my rankings. Okay. Very top. Songbirds, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Yep.
All right. Second, Mockingjay Part 2. Third, Mockingjay Part 1. Fourth, Catching Fire. Fifth, the original Hunger Games.
Okay, so our lists aren't similar at all then. You lied.
Wait, hang on. What is your list again? Sorry.
I said I said Ballad 1, Catching Fire 2, Hunger Games 3, and then Part 2, Part 1.
Oh, I flipped it around in my head.
What the fuck is this?
I flipped yours around in my head.
You a liar.
No, I flipped yours around in my head then. I'm projecting. Okay, never mind. In terms of cookies, I'm gonna give a cookie to Horus from Horus Rising.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
No,
Pick
I'm gonna
something from the fucking movie, please.
I'm going to give. What's the fucking? What is this shit? Oh, there we go. Yeah. Hold on. I need to get the proper name. Hang on. Come back around. Circle back around to me.
Okay, Alex.
Okay. I'm gonna give a bread and butter cookie to Katniss. Cause wait, no, that's a bad idea. I'm gonna give Katniss a chocolate chip cookie. Because I think that would be the tastiest thing she'd ever done to eat.
Oh.
I
gruel most of her life.
Alright, Chris.
I was thinking it would be funny to give Katniss a mahogany cookie, but nah.
That is mahogany.
I'll give Peter a camouflage iced cake because it's like, okay, he learned how to fucking commando by icing cakes. This man is a monster. He throws 45 kilos like nothing with one hand. You talking shit to this
because
guy?
he works at a bakery with heavy sacks of flour. This fucking guy.
This fucking guy. No, but for real. I can't throw 45 kilos with one hand like it ain't shit. Like, maybe 30.
That is pretty impressive.
I mean, he
I'll be
didn't,
honest.
he didn't entirely throw it like it ain't shit. He did struggle
Challenge to
picking
the
it up.
audience. Fucking lift 45 kilos with one hand. Let alone throw it. I might be able to do that, but I doubt it. Fucking highly.
Put that guy in hammer throw.
not to interrupt you and Cameron, when Chris was speaking, actually, I put something into context about that. I think Peter may have been hamming it up a lot because after he showed the judges that he could throw 45 kilograms and that still wasn't enough to earn him above an 8 on the ranking, he was like, "Yo, I've gotta tell them I'm in love with this girl, otherwise I'm gonna fucking die."
Yeah, probably right.
It's probably why he
That would
almost
be so fucking funny.
like
Oh
no,
my god.
actually no, I think that's why Peter did it. He fucking probably threw that shit 3 times over, and they didn't even care because Katniss hit an apple with an arrow, and then he's like, "Oh my fucking god, I'm gonna die."
I mean,
I,
yeah, I do
I
think
have
that.
a boner.
I mean, I do think that part of the reason he said like, "Yeah, I'm in love with her," was to gain sponsors. Peter, and this is brought up. Like, I mean, we see it more in Catching Fire as well. Peter is surprisingly good at playing the capital game.
Yeah, he was good
Like,
at that at the
I'm
start
not
when he
gonna,
when
I'm
he
not gonna
was
say what the bombshell was, and I don't want Cameron to say it either. But my God, Catching Fire, that interview.
Oh, oh, I
Kaya,
have. No, I can't.
Kaya,
I can't. I
Kaya, what are
can't.
your thoughts?
Who?
Your cookies, Kaya.
Um, I'm giving my cookie to the cuntiest man alive, Caesar Flickerman, my king, the king of
Stay with your
the king of
cheese.
serving cunt.
Joking
Um,
his peanut.
I am giving him a cake pop for no particular reason. Um, no particular reason at all, actually.
No
Um.
cap.
I just feel like he'd enjoy a little cake pop. There's no reason for it.
His cake's gonna explode, isn't it?
No,
No.
no.
His blue hair and
I'm saying it
pronouns.
as an.
I'm
Right.
done.
I'm saying.
I'm
I'm
done
saying
with
this.
fucking.
I'm
Oh
saying
my
this
god,
as an
I'm done with
innuendo,
fucking Hunger
Alex.
Games. I'm done with Hunger Games right now, bro.
Right,
I just
right.
want to go play games.
Cameron.
I'm gonna give my cookie to Hamish, and it's not just one cookie, it's actually like a massive batch of them, and it's entirely bourbon balls.
Yes.
It's like 64 bourbon balls because
Yes.
despite the fact that he's an alcoholic, his film adaptation from how fucked over he got compared to his book, he needs more alcohol and give him more. Anyways,
I like Hamish in the. I like
yeah,
Hamish in.
It's
See,
Hey
see,
Mitch, by the way.
I like. That's what I said. I like Hamish in the movie, but that's also because I gotta be honest, I haven't actually read the book. I've just watched a lot of YouTube essays.
Oh,
I've never actually read the books.
my eye's twitching right now. My eye is actually fucking
And
twitching.
with that. All right, before any conflict happens. All right, bets. What do we
Hang on. Oh my
Give
god, that's.
me Conan or kill me now.
Oh,
I
please,
want-
please give me Battle Royale.
I want What We Do in the Shadows. I want to watch. I want to watch my silly little vampire movie. Peak vampire movie right here. I want to watch my silly
Are you
little
hovering over
Kiwis in a
Ocean
vampire
Date?
movie. Silly little
Please get me
Kiwis trying to do
Batman.
like German accents.
Please give me the Batman or Superman, and don't give me Watchmen. If you give me Watchmen,
Give me Drive.
Give me Watchmen.
Give me
Give me
Drive.
the power to feel again.
Why in particular do you want Drive? Any reason in particular, Cameron?
Literally me. That's why.
Actually, hold on. You know what? What's oh, my brain is just fucking blank. The
Mhm.
Unbearable Weight. I want that one.
With massive talent.
Oh,
Yeah.
please. Oh wait, hang on. I just realized.
Wait, that's the one with the Pedro Pascal meme, right? That I discovered
just-
was
yeah.
the
Yeah,
movie
yeah,
with
it
the
is.
Pedro Pascal meme when I was finding the images for the thumbnails. I was like, that's where that's from!
Just by the way, Alex, clerical error. You've called the School of Rock the School Rock?
Too bad.
No, keep it that way. Keep it that way.
Well, no, it's
Right.
like how the year for Dune isn't correct either.
No, it's the Bite of 87.
Man, imagine a fucking movie about just a rocket school. That'd be a great
Yeah,
one.
it's
I'd watch
technically it's the same rock that bashed into the head of someone in the book. Anyways,
And with that, Will, just don't give me Watchmen.
that.
oh
Give Alex
please.
Will.
It'd be really
I
funny,
beg of you,
Wheel,
give
please,
Alex
it'd be
Watchmen.
funny. Or,
Oh,
Oh yeah, no.
oh,
Oh,
finally!
okay.
Finally you got it,
oh,
Alex.
Alex
You
got
were
edged
close.
so bad.
You were
I
close,
haven't,
buddy.
It
I
was
haven't
almost
just
the
gotten,
Batman.
I haven't just gotten edged. I fucking cum in my pants.
Yeah, Alex loves this movie.
Harakiri is a 5 out of 5 film, and
I
I
agree.
love this film.
Yeah,
It
I'm thinking
is-
5 stars.
To the audience, this is a fucking old film.
This is
It's
a
in
s-
black and white.
This
and
is
it's
peak
great.
cinephile right now.
This
If
is
you
all have-
enjoy some slow dialogue and some emotional
I'm
takebacks,
gonna hate
You
this movie,
love
aren't I?
wow.
if you
it's
love
good.
the rule of thirds, oh my god, bro, have I got the movie for you?
Is this wait, question. How slow is the cinema?
So I heard you like analyzing mise en scène.
Fairly.
I
Okay,
hate
Okay,
slow
it's
cinema.
enjoyable. No, it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable.
There's
Trust me, trust
something
me.
about like
It's
a
actually
lot of
really
a
good.
lot of Asian cinema that is just like it's so slow, and it makes me sad because the aesthetics of Asian cinema are so good, but it's so slow that I just get bored.
I reckon you'll find this like probably one of the slowest ones, but it's also
I
really good.
disagree because I had to watch Still Walking.
Okay, I'd reckon this film is slow at the start, but it is, and I say this as someone who doesn't like it when films do this. I would say it may be slow at the start, but the longer you stick with it, it rewards you for your patience. And oh my god, I really like this film.
It is really. I watched this with Alex, thinking this is just gonna be one of those moments where I have to, you know, watch something that I don't want to watch, and I ended up in a
Damn.
complete 180, thinking I would have rather watched this over some of my favorites. Like, it probably beats out Hot Fuzz on my top 10. Genuinely. And I fucking love Hot Fuzz.
Alright. Also,
Don't take that out of context.
I am pleased to let you all know that this is officially our longest podcast episode.
Good.
We let
Right.
Cameron cook one time.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, and with that, viewers, we'll see you next week when I get to ramble on about how much I love Harakiri and how much I'm going to love it. If you want to watch Harakiri, then you're gonna have to go to some potentially
Legal, very,
legal,
very legal,
totally
very legal.
Very,
websites.
very legal
It's
websites.
just it's,
Oh my
it's
god,
really-
it's the most legal website. Where can I go to find
may-
it?
If you want to watch it, you may have to be in Austria. But if you want to watch it, I can send you a very legal a DVD copy.
We can actually if you send us your information, we can buy you a
join
ticket
our
to Austria.
podcast, if you join our podcast, you might watch this film.
We are hosting a screening in Austria itself. If you want to buy tickets, you just need to send us information and also your credit card information. That is all.
Anyway, bye!
Bye.